Space engineers, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the Star Trek Ultimate Constitution class ship on the workshop. Its mission? To be an awesome recreation of the Star Trek Enterprise from the original series of Star Trek. Okay, that's the best I got. What's up, everybody? It's Sparrow with a Gun here from Sleepless Nights with another episode on the Space Engineers Inspiration series, and we're starting things off with this really cool recreation of the classic Enterprise from the original series of Star Trek. Now, this kind of got on my radar because a couple of people had asked me, because there's that whole 50th anniversary thing going on of Star Trek, was I going to do like a Star Trek-centric episode? It's not a centric episode, but I did start looking around for Star Trek ships, and I found this one that's actually really cool. A lot of them, I don't know, they tend to be like the ship on the outside looks right, but then like the innards are like bland or something, you know, or the innards look cool, but then the ship doesn't really look right, you know, and this was actually a good balance between all of them, that it's not a one-to-one perfect recreation, but it actually looks good on the outside. I mean, you can definitely tell this is a pretty good recreation of the exterior of the Enterprise, but the inside actually looked pretty cool as well. So it was kind of the best of both worlds, and that's why I went with it. This isn't exactly a Star Trek-centric episode, though, however, because, quite frankly, I couldn't really find a lot of them that really just stood out to me. There's a lot of them on the workshop, don't get me wrong. But like I said, there's usually one or two things that on all of them that are kind of, okay, that, you know, nothing that was really like, wow, okay, that's awesome, you know. Now, granted, I was looking at the most recent and not the overall of all time. So if I was doing that, perhaps next episode we could do something to that effect or something, if there's really, if everybody wants to see more Star Trek episodes more ships, while the buzz is there. So I'm assuming this is the warp drive, because that looks like a warp core. I am not real too familiar with the layout here, to be quite honest, so like the entrance being in the back and walking right into the warp core, not really sure how that relates. And this looks like... This is interesting, because... Unless this is a DX9 world? No, that doesn't make sense. This is weird, because these look like the Culto, or Cult packs, for the consoles, but yet they're all black, which normally is what happens when you go from a DX9 to an 11, but I currently am doing a Let's Build on 11, and they all look fine, so I don't know why this is all matted. Weird. I do like this, though. There's some mods in here that I didn't know was a thing. Like the engine... I've seen the seats, the cockpits. I have not seen the engineering ones. And I should point out this. There are two versions of this map. I have listed in the description the world, because I'm a fan of world files over blueprints. I don't really like blueprints other than vanilla. Vanilla's fine. Because you can basically just drop them in. But whenever there's mods, I hate blueprints. They drive me nuts. Shuttle bay lights. I really wish they'd fix these font things. It's so hard to read. Airlocks and shuttle bay doors. There's a gravity and a timer block. Not really sure what the timer block's for, but can I turn? Yeah, that's better. Let's turn our lights off. That was kind of getting in the way. But so what I should note is that when I went to load the world file, there was probably a good 5 to 8, maybe more, of the mods that were redded out, and it read in the description to basically delete them. I don't know if this is causing a problem here, and this was somehow related to that, because the screenshots and the thumbnails like this, the rock and stuff, were all fine. They weren't all matted out and stuff. So I'm assuming this will get eventually fixed, because it's probably just a mod version error. Because I know what this is. I've seen these before, and they're not normally matted. So that should work fine. I have this in my world file, and it works fine. So I'm thinking some of this shouldn't look this way, but if you load the blueprint or something like that, it'd probably be okay. I don't know if there's also supposed to be a wall here or not. I'm not entirely sure. So, like I said, keep an open mind in that regard, that some of this is probably bugging out, but when the world was either originally created or submitted or whatever, it probably should be a little bit more properly formed. I don't think that's a builder's fault thing, though. I think that's just a game version, mod version, all that kind of stuff fault. So we got our cryo chambers over here. I'm actually having a lot of fun on this because it's running really, really smooth. I really expected it took this, man, it took this almost as long as mine, a My World file to load in. So I really expected it to take forever, to be huge and a frame rate crusher and everything like that. And I loaded in non-recording wise at like 60 frames per second, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is actually working. Side note, great use of these corridors on a Star Trek build, because I never really realized it until I saw it in this build, but these are so Star Trek walls. That's great. It looks great in that regard. Okay, so this is the main saucer then. Yeah, this has to be the main saucer, because we saw this hole when we were flying over. Yep, okay. So in case it wasn't already plainly obvious by that regard right there, it is not a one-to-one, which is probably why my frame rate is actually doing really well. If this were a one-to-one build, I probably would have a slideshow on my hands. So you have the med bay here, because, I mean, yeah, the ship's actually, in reality, if you did a one-to-one, kind of like a Star Destroyer, the ship is huge. So, open, close, what is this? What is it, open and closing? Oh, perhaps the door? Is that like a manual? That's curious. It's probably supposed to be the door. There we go. Interesting. I don't know why the button wouldn't work, but I don't know what it was supposed to be opening and closing, so I don't know that it didn't actually. I really like this engineering console, though. I had not found that on the workshop or anything anywhere, so I didn't know that was a thing. That's really cool, though. We have A quarters, maybe captain's quarters? Maybe? This is like everybody else's bathroom, I guess. Alright, so let's dig into the saucer then, because this looks like there's stuff going on, stuff and things. We've got counters, looks like kitchen type stuff, living quarters of some sorts. I guess that would make sense that they would put a lot of the living stuff in the saucer, because like when it went to the D Enterprise and stuff, like the saucer could disconnect. Now technically I don't know if the original Enterprise couldn't do that, or if it just, they never said they could do that. That would be one of those interesting topics for debate, is it's like, can it actually do it? And they just never brought it up, or actually, truth be told, I didn't really ever see the original, so I don't know that they didn't do it. The hydroponics in here with the green lights is a really cool touch. I like that for food sources. I wonder if it's the same on both sides. I'm thinking, though, there's some things that have basically broken in terms of mod version. Because I just noticed something right about here, that the floor is, like, gone. And so I'm thinking that was a specific kind of mod that then was one of those that were, like I mentioned before, that were Reddit out, basically, and so they couldn't load in the floor, essentially. I did that because it was already mentioned in the description, in the comment section. Captain quarters. Interesting. So is this the captain quarters, then? Oh, maybe it is. These are cool consoles, too. I like them. That's a really cool... I'm actually surprised that you get... What is that? This is like a little seat. Work desk. I'm actually a little surprised on that front in terms of the workshop. That that there's been stuff like a console pack here and there, or something to that effect. Open? Where are you? Oh, cargo container access. Okay. It's interesting. But I am slightly more surprised that there hasn't been some just massive, like, here's all the computers ever for Star Trek kind of thing. Like, nobody's actually done a full build an entire Star Trek ship mod block pack thing. Yeah, and there's definitely some issues going on here with the floor. But like I said, I wouldn't take that as absolute, because it's like, you know, a lot of this was mod versions and things, or conflicts of that kind, but from the screenshots, it looked really, really cool. So, yeah, that's probably what happened, was all of the broken mods just kind of messed with it. But overall, this, if you compare it with the screenshots for the workshop file and what it's supposed to look like, this would actually be a really cool recreation of the ship. Oh, that's so cool. You're actually like sitting in it. Okay. Let's see here. Do either of these... Ah, here we go. Okay, now one other thing is, according to the comments, the phaser weapons are currently not doing damage. They're viewed as decorative, apparently. Warp, rocket launchers, phaser. That does look really cool. Not gonna lie. And you got your... I wonder why there isn't one on both sides? Oh, there is. Why is it not working then, I wonder? Not my fault. I didn't do it. That is pretty cool. That's pretty neat. And then the rocket launchers in the neck are basically going to serve as your torpedoes. Now... Okay, so the warp drive is essentially a grav drive then. Okay. I wasn't sure what that was. I was like, is there actually a warp drive mod? So anyways, I think that's going to do this one. So let's move on to the next one. Okay, so this one's a little bit different. This is actually a scenario, not a world or a blueprint or anything like that. It would actually be really cool if you played Space Engineers like on a server with a lot of friends or something, because it would be kind of interesting. But for anybody that's ever seen Ender's Game, this is basically the training room scenario that they did in that movie. So if you haven't seen the movie and don't want to be spoiled, then, you know, I guess spoiler alert, but, I mean, really? So pick a team color, grab some ammo, 5 lives per player. Now, we are not going to be able to pull this off correctly in terms of showing all the respawn mechanics and blah, 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 because, well, it's me. That, and I honestly don't even know how to pick a team, because I've never done scenario stuff before. So, there's that. Door Rebels. Oh, I guess this is... No? Door Rebels. Okay. Pick a team color, grab some ammo. I don't get the color thing. Other than maybe in factions? Ah, there it is. Maybe. Sure. Anyways, like I said, that's... Unless this is pick a color. That might be what it is. Might be pick a actual suit color, but whatever. We're winging this. So let's see how they did this, because gravity was a big thing in this area. It actually looks really good. Okay, so they do have gravity here. Oh, and I can't turn my jetpack on. Okay. So since this is an actual scenario, I don't have control over that. Oh. I was thinking I could cheat and just be like, eh, whatever, I'll just use my jetpack. But yeah, so this is a really interesting, especially for space engineers, in terms of, like, any other game would probably have a bit more difficulty in pulling the scenario off, but because of the way Space Engineers works, it actually is a really good fit for this scenario. Because you have just enough gravity you can jump around and things. And the whole point was kind of like a giant 3D strategy match of cover mechanics almost. But yeah, this is really cool. As far as look and likeness, it's similar, but one of the only things... I haven't seen the movie in a while, so I could easily be wrong. Oh, and there's gravity in these pods. That's cool. That's a cool effect, too. One of the things was, if my memory serves, some of the area was more floaty, and all of the metal sections seem to be actually stationary. I could be wrong about that. It would not surprise me. But if I remember correctly, like some of these things that are actually attached in the movie, I'm pretty sure they were floating. I think. Like I said, I could be wrong. It would not really surprise me, to be honest. But yeah, this is a really interesting... I'm actually surprised it hasn't come up before, frankly. But it's a really interesting idea for a scenario, especially in this game. It makes it even more interesting because you can actually do the scenario things of respawning and stuff like that. So that's pretty darn cool. Unfortunately, there isn't a whole lot more to show because it's basically just a giant glass room. But it is a really cool idea, and if I had a full team or something to show off the respawn mechanics and stuff, you could do that. But you do see the lives up in the corner, so everybody has a certain amount of lives, and when you die, you respawn back at your base, which I guess ours would be over here. So, all that kind of stuff. Definitely screws with your head, though, in terms of orientation and things of that nature. But, yeah, overall, it looks really good, and it actually works pretty well, too, in terms of the movement mechanics. Now, I don't know as far as how this would actually play out as a PvP map, but still a pretty neat idea overall, and I really like that somebody finally came along and actually attempted to do it, because it meshes really well with the mechanics of Space Engineers and gravity and manipulating and stuff like that. It works really, really well. I mean, in terms of context and being something that fits the world, you know, all those space kind of like Star Trek ships and Star Wars ships and this kind of PvP map and stuff, like all those are very well suited for this game. So anyways, I think we're going to wrap this part up, and let's move on to the last one for this episode. Okay, so last but not least, we have Hive City, which is apparently a Warhammer 40k city thing from the... I've never actually played most of any of those games, so I don't know anything about them. Really, I mean, basic stuff that I've seen in trailers, but whatever. So this is apparently Hive City. I cannot speak, obviously, the aforementioned lack of knowledge on my part. I can't speak to its similarity, authenticity, whatever you want to call it, for how close of a representation it is, but honestly, it just looked really cool. You kind of had this Space Engineers castle looking thing, which was pretty awesome. Now, it is important to note, even in the description it mentions that basically due to performance issues and things like that, most of the rooms are left empty. So probably not too... Which it actually does run really smooth, so I was surprised, but it makes sense now that they're talking about the interior being largely vacant. So, you know, I suppose if you had a good computer and you wanted to, you could go through and make like a modded version with interiors and all that crap, and it would probably be even more advanced and crazy. I was actually waiting for the sun so that it would be a little brighter and you guys could get a better look at it, but I just loaded the world off the workshop and I don't know what the daytime settings are or the day-night cycle settings are, so don't really know about that. What the heck? Did I trick I must have tripped a sensor and it's doing sound effects. That's actually kind of scary because I'm like waiting for something to come out and attack me. The thing I'm actually wondering about, why am I moving so slow? Oh, okay. That's what I wasn't sure about. Apparently there are actually, or at least there's a wolf in here. I'm guessing the world file probably has wolves set to true, and he just spawned in there because it's a big open area. Oh! Hello. Okay. Apparently I'm one of the Warhammer guys. Yeah, like I said, I've seen trailers and screenshots and things like that, and I actually have the, what was it, I know the original Warhammers were like Command and Conquer RTS type style games, but there was that one that they made, Space Marine, where it was actually a third-person shooter. I did get that one off of the PlayStation Network for PlayStation Plus, but I never really played them or did anything. They always looked cool, but never really got into them. But I'm actually looking for the main cathedral-looking area. I wanted to take a peek at that. This entry ramp area, this kind of like section down in here, all this kind of reminds me of, for any of you that have actually played Dark Souls 3, this actually reminds me of the ice area, because you kind of go up and around weird staircases, then you go up and around, and there's this kind of thing with the railings and the torches and all that stuff, and then you go around the main buildings. This is actually pretty cool, though. Like I said, you could do, even if you're not like really into Warhammer or anything, you could actually use this for some cool stuff and have just take certain areas and do like modded interiors and things that just kind of fill in the detail work kind of thing. But overall, a lot of detail in the exterior. Interior, obviously, like we said, would need some work. But exterior-wise, I mean, you've got all these different little sections and lights, architecture stuff, devices hanging off of edges, railings, torches. Like, there's a lot of little intricate detail things just in the exterior, which probably took forever. So yeah, overall, that's a really good exterior build. It's really just missing like interior stuff to make it a usable base or whatever. I don't know in terms of functionality if it has everything. I know we saw refineries and assemblers and stuff like that, and I'm pretty sure these are hydrogen tanks in these walls. But I don't know if it was ever intended to be like, hey, you could use this as a base or not, but I'm sure with some refits and stuff it probably could. What is this over here? I've been curious about this. Nothing. Okay. So, yeah, really cool, very detailed exterior build. I like it. So yeah, I think we're going to wrap things up here for this episode. In the meantime, I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, leave a like, and I will see you all next time. Peace.